Sister Isabella had lived in the monastery since she was 15. For 12 years, she had never been this close to a man. But now, as she pressed her hands against the wounded Viking's chest, she felt their heartbeats synchronizing. This moment would change her life forever. Because the man she found on the shore that morning wasn't just an enemy warrior. He was someone who would make her question everything she had ever known. In the coldest winter months of 1142, on the coastal cliffs of northern England, St. Hilda's monastery stood silently on the edge of the precipice. This ancient stone building had been home to women devoted to God for centuries. The 23 nuns living here had severed all ties with the outside world, dedicating their lives to prayer, meditation, and service to the community. One of them was 27-year-old Sister Isabella. Her long chestnut hair was always hidden under her wimple, her green eyes always cast downward. She was slender and graceful, her hands constantly busy either in prayer or gathering medicinal herbs in the monastery garden. Isabella's past was somewhat different from the other nuns. The reason her family had left her at the monastery at age 15 wasn't religious devotion, but economic necessity. Her father was a poor farmer who couldn't provide dowries for all 5 daughters. Placing his eldest daughter in the monastery, both secured her future and lightened their family's burden. In the early years, Isabella had rebelled greatly. She wanted to marry, have children, live like a normal woman. But over time, she had adapted to monastic life. Especially her expertise in medicinal plants and medical knowledge had given her purpose. As the monastery's healer, she treated sick villagers, assisted with births, and healed the wounded. For 12 years, Isabella had completely devoted herself to this life. But inside, there was always something missing. When she lay in bed at night, sometimes she wondered, what is love? What is a man's touch like? What is the happiness of having children? These thoughts were considered sinful, so Isabella buried them inside and prayed more. That winter night, the storm was particularly fierce. The wind struck the monastery's stone walls so powerfully that the windows rattled. Branches snapped, the sea's waves crashed against the cliffs, making thunderous sounds. No one should go outside tonight, Head Abbess Catherine had warned in a stern voice. God's wrath is in this storm. You will all stay in your rooms. But at midnight Isabella woke from her sleep. A flash of light from the window had opened her eyes. She got up and looked outside. On the shore, among the rocks, something seemed to be burning. Did a ship sink? She thought. The healing instinct in her heart immediately activated. If there were injured people there, she needed to help them. She quickly put on her cloak, took her small medical bag, and silently left the monastery. The storm was still raging. The wind was so powerful it nearly knocked her down. But Isabella continued toward the shore. When she reached the rocks, there truly was a shipwreck. A small Viking ship had crashed into the rocks and shattered. Around it were broken wooden pieces, torn sails, and a body. Isabella rushed over. The man lying on the shore had wounds covering his body. His hair was matted with blood and salt. His clothing was Viking style. Leather armor, metal buckles, and on his arm a bracelet engraved with intricate designs. A Viking, Isabella whispered in fear. She'd heard stories about Vikings being demonic barbarians who kidnapped women, killed children, and burned villages. But then she noticed the man taking a weak breath. He was still alive. Isabella's mind was in turmoil. He was a Viking, an enemy. Leaving him to death might be the right thing to do. But the healer spirit inside her said something else. God loves everyone, she whispered to herself. Believer and non-believer alike, I am his instrument. If I can save this man, I must. This decision would change Isabella's life forever. Bringing the Viking to the monastery was impossible. If Head Abbess Catherine saw him, she would certainly have him thrown out. But Isabella knew of a secret room somewhere in the monastery. In the monastery's oldest tower, there was a storage room that had been used years ago but was now forgotten. It was cold, but at least it was safe. No one went there. Isabella used all her strength to drag the wounded Viking. The man was very heavy, at least 200 pounds, maybe more. With each step, Isabella's breath was cut short, but she didn't give up. When she got him to the tower, she laid the man on an old bed. Then she quickly brought her medical supplies, clean cloths, medicinal herbs, needle and thread, tincture of iodine, and boiling water. In the lantern's light, she could see the man properly for the first time. He was about 30 years old. His blonde-brown hair reached his shoulders. There were several wounds on his face, but he was very handsome. Sharp jawline, thick eyebrows, and eyes that were now closed. His body was completely muscular, covered with battle scars and tattoos. Isabella took a deep breath. What would she do now? First, she needed to remove his clothing. With trembling hands, she opened the man's wet leather armor. Underneath was a simple shirt, also soaked with blood. That was removed too. Isabella was now looking at a naked man's chest. In 12 years, she had never seen a man's body this closely. Her face flushed, but her professional instincts kicked in. "He's just a patient," she whispered to herself. "Just treat him." First, she cleaned his wounds. There was a deep sword wound on his chest, probably received in battle. There was also a serious bruise on his head, a deep cut on his left arm, too. She worked for hours. She cleaned the wounds, stitched them, applied ointments made from medicinal herbs, and bandaged them with clean cloths. The man's fever was very high. Infection had started. "Yarrow tea," Isabella whispered. To bring down the fever, she put the herbs in boiling water and prepared a strong tea. Then she gently lifted the man's head and began dripping the tea onto his lips. During this, she noticed the shape of the man's lips. They were full and well-formed lips. Isabella wondered for a moment what it would feel like to kiss these lips. "What are you doing?" she scolded herself. "You're committing sin." But the thought wouldn't leave her mind. By morning, the man was breathing more comfortably. His fever had dropped slightly. Isabella, exhausted from fatigue, sat down on a chair in the corner of the room. "I'll just rest for a few minutes," she thought. But the fatigue pressed so heavily that she fell asleep there. When the sun rose, the monastery's morning bells woke her. Isabella jumped up in panic. She had to go down immediately and join the morning prayers, or her absence would be noticed. As she hurriedly left the tower, she looked one last time at the man lying in bed. He was still sleeping, but his breathing was more regular. He would live. "I'll come back tonight," she whispered. God, let this remain secret. For 3 days, Isabella secretly went to the tower at night to treat the Viking. The man sometimes woke up, but he was so weak he couldn't speak. He would just look at Isabella, then fall back asleep. On the 4th day, there was a change. When Isabella brought dinner in the evening, the man's eyes were open, and he was looking at her consciously. "Who are you?" the man asked, his voice hoarse and coming with difficulty. But he was speaking English. Isabella was surprised. "You speak our language." "I learned on merchant ships," the man said, smiling slightly. "Vikings aren't just savage barbarians. Some of us travel to learn." Isabella's prejudices were shaken. I'm Sister Isabella. I found you on the shore. You were wounded." The man slowly tried to sit up, but winced in pain. Isabella immediately helped, adjusting the pillows. "Thank you," the man said sincerely. "You saved my life. My name is Bjorn. Bjorn Ravenclaw. Are you a Viking?" Isabella asked, still somewhat hesitant. "Yes, but not a barbarian. My ship was coming for trade. The storm hit us. The rest of my crew, I don't know. Did they die?" Isabella shook her head. "There was no one else on the shore." "I'm sorry, Bjorn's face twisted with pain. But then he looked at Isabella again. "Why did you save me? You knew I was a Viking. According to your people, we're your enemies." Isabella was silent for a while. "Because God taught me to show mercy to everyone. You're not an enemy. You're a wounded human being. I'm a healer. Healing is my duty." A deep admiration appeared in Bjorn's eyes. "I've never met a woman like you before. You're brave and merciful." These words warmed Isabella's heart. No one had praised her this way. In the monastery, she was only seen as a servant. From that night on, a bond began to form between them. Every night, Isabella would come, treat Bjorn, and they would talk together. Bjorn told Isabella about Viking culture, that they weren't just warriors, but also merchants, craftsmen, poets, and explorers. "We believe in the Norse gods," he said one night. "Odin, god of wisdom. Thor, god of strength. Freya, goddess of love. They're different from your god, but perhaps they're all different faces of the same truth." Isabella found these thoughts very interesting. Such talk was forbidden in the monastery, but when talking with Bjorn, she felt her mind opening. Bjorn also learned much from Isabella. He admired her knowledge of medicinal plants. "A healer like you would be very valuable in our clan," he said one day. "Our healing women are as important as our warriors." This praise surprised Isabella. "In our society, women aren't valued much, especially nuns. We're just seen as people who pray and serve." "That's wrong," Bjorn said firmly. "You're a strong and skilled woman. People who don't know your value are foolish." 2 weeks had passed. Bjorn was now much better. He could walk, eat on his own. But he was still weak, and full recovery would take time. During this time, Isabella and Bjorn got to know each other much better, and both of them began to feel a forbidden emotion growing inside. Isabella looked forward to seeing Bjorn every night with impatience. Talking with him, laughing, listening to his stories, these were the happiest moments of her life. But weren't these feelings sinful? Could a nun like a man? Bjorn was experiencing similar feelings. He had fallen in love with Isabella's grace, intelligence, and compassion. But she was a nun, devoted to God. How could he confess himself to her? One night Isabella was checking Bjorn's wound again. As her hands unwrapped the bandages on Bjorn's chest, Bjorn suddenly held her hand. "Isabella," he said, his voice serious and emotional. "There's something I need to talk to you about." Isabella's heart began beating rapidly. "Yes, I have feelings for you. I know this is wrong. You're devoted to God, but I have to open my heart. You're the most important woman in my life." Isabella's eyes filled with tears.
"Bjorn,
I think about you too, but this is impossible. I'm a nun. These feelings are sinful. Love cannot be a sin," Bjorn said, holding Isabella's hand. "Love is the purest emotion. Your God knows this too, but I took a vow," Isabella said, trying to hold back tears. "I dedicated my life to God. I cannot love a man." "I won't force you to love me," Bjorn said in a soft voice. "But know that if you were ever free, I would treasure you as my most precious possession." That night, when Isabella returned to her room, she cried until dawn. There was a war in her heart, her devotion to God or her love for Bjorn. But fate wouldn't give her much time to make this decision. The next morning, head abbess Catherine summoned Isabella to her room. "Isabella," she said in a cold voice, "you were seen leaving the monastery late at night. Where were you going?" Isabella's heart froze. Had she been discovered? I was just going out to the garden for some air," she said, her voice trembling. Catherine's eyes sharpened. "Don't lie to me. I know you went to the old tower. What's there?" Isabella was filled with panic. If it was discovered that she was hiding Bjorn, both she and Bjorn were in great danger. Hostility toward Vikings was so high that Bjorn would probably be executed immediately. and Isabella would either be expelled from the monastery or worse, accused of heresy. "Abbess, I was just—" she began, but Catherine raised her hand to stop her. "I don't want to hear your answers. Now you will come with me to that tower, and we'll see what's there." The two women walked through the cold stone corridors toward the tower. Isabella's mind was working frantically. Was there a way to warn Bjorn? A way to hide him? But it was too late now. When they reached the tower, Catherine opened the door. Bjorn was sitting on the bed, putting on his shirt. When he saw Catherine, he immediately stood up, his warrior instinct kicking in. "A Viking!" Catherine shrieked in horror. "Isabella, you were hiding a Viking here?" "Abbess, please listen," Isabella said quickly. "He's not dangerous. He was wounded. I treated him. If I had thrown him out, he would have died." "So what?" Catherine shouted. "These people are our enemies. They burn our villages, kill our people. You helped one of them." Bjorn took a step forward, hands raised in a defenseless posture. "Honorable lady," he said in a calm voice, "I'm not threatening you. I'm a merchant, not a warrior. My ship sank in the storm. Isabella gave me life. I owe her gratitude." "Silence!" Catherine shouted. "I won't listen to your lies." "Guards, guards!" Her voice echoed through the corridors. Within minutes, armed guards entered the room. "Arrest this Viking," Catherine ordered. "And Isabella too. They will both be questioned." When the guards tried to seize Bjorn, he didn't resist. But he looked at Isabella one last time, deep love in his eyes. "I'm not sorry," Isabella whispered. "I'll never regret saving you." The next day, a trial was held in the monastery's great hall. Head Abbess Catherine, several senior nuns, and the local Lord Aldrich sat as judges. Isabella and Bjorn stood in the centre, their hands bound. "Isabella," Lord Aldrich began in a stern voice, "you have committed a very serious crime. Helping the kingdom's enemy is considered treason. This could mean the death penalty." Isabella raised her head, her voice determined. "I didn't commit treason. I just saved a human life. If that's a crime, I'm proud to be guilty. But he's a Viking." Catherine shrieked. "They're our enemies! He's a human!" Isabella countered. "Didn't God teach us to love everyone, even our enemies?" These words created silence in the hall. Some nuns began to think Isabella was right. Indeed, Jesus had taught to love enemies. Bjorn spoke. "My lord, I want to make you an offer. Release Isabella. She's not guilty. Execute me, but don't touch her." This sacrifice surprised everyone in the hall. A Viking was ready to sacrifice his life for an English nun. Isabella turned to Bjorn with tears in her eyes. "No, Bjorn, no!" Lord Aldrich was thoughtful. "This is an interesting situation. Perhaps this Viking isn't as bad as we thought." Catherine was still objecting, but Lord Aldrich raised his hand. "My decision is this. Bjorn Ravenclaw will be released. But he must leave English territory, never return. Isabella, however, will remain in the monastery, but will be punished. For 3 months she will be under a vow of silence and confined to her cell." This decision didn't satisfy either side, but seemed fair. Bjorn and Isabella were given one last chance to look at each other. "Isabella," Bjorn said, his voice full of emotion, "I will never forget you. You saved my life, and my heart too." "I won't forget you either," Isabella whispered. "Go be free, be happy. Come with me," Bjorn said suddenly. "Come to Scandinavia. There I can marry you. I can make you my queen." Isabella's heart stopped. Was this a real proposal? Did Bjorn want to marry her? But then she remembered the truth. She was a nun. She couldn't leave the monastery. "I can't," she said through tears. "I'm bound by my vow." 3 months passed. Isabella, under a vow of silence, remained in her solitary cell. Every day she only prayed, worked, and thought. And every day she thought of Bjorn. Had Bjorn really left England? Had he returned home? Had he married another woman? These thoughts deeply saddened Isabella. But on the other hand, knowing he was safe comforted her. After 3 months, her punishment ended. Isabella returned to her normal duties, but she was no longer the same. There was an emptiness inside her. One spring morning, while gathering medicinal herbs in the monastery garden, she heard a noise at the back gate. When she turned, her heartbeat stopped. Bjorn was there, but he wasn't alone. 2 Viking women were with him, carrying gifts in their hands. "Bjorn!" Isabella cried out, unable to believe it. Why did you come back?" Bjorn smiled, that warm smile she knew. "I promised you. I said I would never forget you. And I have a promise I want to keep. But it was forbidden for you to return." "I made a deal with Lord Aldrich," Bjorn said. "My clan will make a peace agreement with England. No more attacks, only trade. In return, I can stay here." Isabella's world was spinning. But I'm a nun. I can't be with you." Bjorn approached, placing his hands on Isabella's hands. "Isabella, I can't force you to leave the monastery. But I want to offer you a choice. Come with me. In Scandinavia, live as a free woman. Be my wife. Share your life with me." Isabella's eyes filled with tears. "But my vow to God loves you," Bjorn said gently. "And he wants you to be happy. If your heart wants to come with me, this is God's sign." In that moment, Isabella made her decision. For 12 years, she had lived as others wanted. Now was the time to listen to her own heart. "Yes," she whispered. "I'll come with you." Bjorn embraced her, lifted her up, and spun her around. The 2 Viking women began to applaud. "But first, I must speak with the abbess," Isabella said. "I must leave properly." That afternoon, Isabella entered Catherine's room. The abbess greeted her with a cold expression. "I heard he's back," Catherine said. "That Viking?" "Yes," Isabella said, her voice determined. "And I want to go with him." Catherine took a deep breath. "Isabella, you've been here for 12 years. You dedicated your life to God. Now will you leave this for a man?" "Not for a man," Isabella said. "For myself. Abbess, I didn't come here of my own will. My family sent me. But now, for the first time, I'm making my own choice. And I choose Bjorn." Catherine was silent for a long time. Then unexpectedly she smiled slightly. "Perhaps you're right," she said in a soft voice. "Perhaps the only way to serve God isn't to stay in the monastery. Perhaps you can serve in other ways there." These words surprised Isabella. She didn't expect such understanding from Catherine. "I can't expel you," Catherine continued. "But if you want to leave, go. And may God be with you." Isabella hugged Catherine through tears. "Thank you. I'm grateful to you." That night Isabella prayed one last time in the monastery chapel. "God," she said quietly, "if this is wrong, stop me. But if this is the right path, guide me." And inside she felt a deep peace. This was the right decision. 2 weeks later, Isabella and Bjorn set sail for Scandinavia on a small Viking ship. The journey was long and difficult, but as long as Isabella was with Bjorn, she wasn't afraid of anything. When they arrived in Norway, Bjorn's clan greeted them with a great feast. Jarl Erik, Bjorn's father, embraced Isabella like a daughter. "The woman who saved my son's life," he said in a booming voice. "You're part of our family now." Bjorn's sister Astrid immediately befriended Isabella. She taught her Viking culture, language, and traditions. "Here," Astrid said one day, "women are strong. They can fight, trade, lead. You're strong too, Isabella. Don't forget that." Bjorn and Isabella married a month later, according to ancient Norse traditions. A great feast was held. Hundreds of guests came. Isabella wore a white Viking bridal gown with flower crowns in her hair. Bjorn, at the most important moment of the ceremony, held Isabella's hands and made this vow. "Isabella, You found me in my darkest moment. You saved my life. But more importantly, you saved my heart. I swear to you, I will always protect you, always love you, and always be by your side. You are my queen, my star, my everything, Isabella also responded, her voice full of emotion. Bjorn, you taught me freedom. You showed me that love has no limits. Every moment I'm with you is the greatest gift God has given me. I swear to you, I will always love you, always support you, and share my life with you. And they kissed. Their first kiss, long and passionate and beautiful. In Scandinavia, Isabella built a new life. She shared her medicinal plant knowledge with the Viking people. She treated wounded warriors, cared for sick children, and assisted with births. You are a treasure for us, Jarl Erik said one day. Because of your knowledge, many lives have been saved. Isabella became pregnant a year later. The birth was difficult, but finally a healthy baby boy was born. When Bjorn held his son, he was in tears. Erik, he said, he'll carry my father's name. Little Erik had his father's eyes and his mother's hair. He was a perfect blend. Years passed. Isabella and Bjorn had 3 children. Erik, Astrid, and little Leif. They were all healthy, strong, and loving children. When Isabella thought of her old life in England, she was amazed. If she had stayed in that monastery, she would never have experienced this happiness. She couldn't have had children, couldn't have known love, couldn't have lived freely. Do you regret it? Bjorn asked one day, as they sat together by the fjord. Never, Isabella said, smiling. You are my destiny, Bjorn. That stormy night God sent you to me, and I am eternally grateful. Bjorn kissed her, warm and loving. I'm grateful to you too. You are the meaning of my life. Years later, when Isabella was 45, she received a letter from England. Head Abbess Catherine had written. The letter said, Dear Isabella, years ago, I watched you leave. At the time, I wasn't sure if you made the right decision. But now, as I hear your story, that you're happy, that you have a family, that you continue to help people, I understand that you are on God's true path. Serving God isn't just the monastery. You serve with love, with mercy, with healing. And this is the highest service. I wanted you to know that I forgive you and am proud of you. May God be with you, Catherine, Isabella cried as she read the letter. But these were tears of happiness. She was now at peace with her past. Bjorn embraced her. Is everything all right? Yes, Isabella said, smiling. Everything is perfect. That night, Isabella told her children a story. The story of how, on a stormy night, a nun found a wounded Viking on the shore, and how that Viking freed her, loved her, and how they united their lives. Mom, little Astrid said curiously, is this story real? Isabella smiled. Yes, sweetheart. This is the story of me and your father. Wow. Erik said, this is the best story. Bjorn stood by the door watching this scene. His heart was filled with love. That night when they went to bed, Bjorn whispered to Isabella, You know, don't you? You are the greatest miracle of my life. You are mine too, Isabella whispered. That stormy night I didn't just save your life. I saved my own life too, and they fell asleep embracing each other in peace and love. This story shows us that sometimes life's greatest gifts come at the most unexpected moments. When Isabella showed mercy to an enemy, she actually opened a future for herself. When Bjorn was saved by an enemy, he found the love of his life. Love knows no religion, race, or culture. Love is simply two hearts finding each other. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Share in the comments which scene touched you the most. And don't forget to share this beautiful story with your loved ones. True love transcends physical boundaries, social rules, and even religious differences. Isabella and Bjorn's story is a legend that gives hope to all of us.